From Washington, this is VOA News. Sony to release satirical movie about North Korea despite threats. Experimental Ebola vaccine effective in clinical trials. I'm Ray Kouguell reporting from Washington. U.S.-based Sony Pictures reversed position on a controversial movie that inspired a hacking attack the United States says was carried out by North Korea. Sony says The Interview, a movie parody about the assassination of North Korean leader Kim Jong Un, will open in a few theaters starting on December 25th. Sony announced last week it would not screen the comedy in theaters after its computers were hacked by unknown attackers who threatened more damage if the movie were released as scheduled. U.S. officials, meanwhile, are refusing to confirm or deny whether the United States caused North Korea's internet to shut down. North Korea regained internet access after going down for about an hour Tuesday, following a widespread outage that occurred Monday, just days after the United States vowed to respond to a cyber attack on Sony Pictures, blamed on Pyongyang, which North Korea denies. 2 experimental Ebola vaccines, and one against the related Marburg virus, have proven to be safe and effective in generating an immune response against the deadly infections. The findings are from the first vaccine trial against the microbes known as filoviruses in Africa. A study announcing the results conducted in Kampala, Uganda, is published in the journal The Lancet. UN Libyan envoy Bernardino Leon says rival factions vying for power in Libya have agreed in principle to hold a new round of peace talks next month. He told the 15-member Security Council that the long-delayed talks are set for January 5th and will focus on a ceasefire, a national unity government, and a new constitution. This is VOA News. The UN Refugee Agency says hundreds of Muslims in the Central African Republic, threatened by mainly Christian militias, must be urgently relocated to safer areas. Lisa Schlein reports.
The UNHCR says 474 Muslims from the Pearl ethnic minority have been trapped for months in the town of Yaloke, living in deplorable conditions. It says the besieged group is living in a state of fear, confined to an overcrowded site for internally displaced people. The assessment team found severe malnourishment, malaria, and tuberculosis. UNHCR spokesman Adrian Edwards tells VOA the situation needs quick action.
We don't think it's tenable anymore, and for this reason we think it's important that people are brought to safer places.
Edwards says the Muslims spent several months on the run, hiding in the bush at night. He says many lost family members and friends. Lisa Schlein for VOA News, Geneva.
Ukraine took a further step toward seeking NATO membership Tuesday when the country's parliament overwhelmingly passed a law abolishing Kiev's neutral, non-aligned status. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Pavlo Klimkin says it moves the country closer to NATO and opens new mechanisms and new forms of realization of Ukraine's goals of effective internal policy. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov called the law counterproductive. Russian Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev says the country would plunge into a deep recession if the government abandoned its spending plans. Speaking in Moscow, Mr. Medvedev said the government will stay focused on its strategic aims and social spending to avoid the likelihood of sliding into recession. Russia's economy is greatly affected by the steep oil price drop and is widely predicted to fall into recession next year. The World Health Organization is preparing to deliver medical and aid supplies to several rebel-held suburbs of the Syrian capital Damascus, as well as suburbs of the country's largest city, Aleppo. Edward Uranian has more.
High-level contacts between the United Nations and the Syrian government have produced an agreement for medical and other relief supplies to enter a number of rebel-held regions surrounding Damascus and Aleppo. It was not immediately clear when those deliveries would begin. WHO Syria Relief Effort Coordinator Elizabeth Hoff tells VOA the onset of winter has made the need for medicine extremely urgent.
It is winter and very cold, and we have more upper respiratory infections in children and also in adults. So these are concerns in addition to the normal difficulties that we are facing on the ground. But the health situation in general is deteriorating.
Edward Uranian for VOA News, Cairo.
I'm Ray Kouguell in Washington.
That's the latest world news from VOA.